Blade Angel here, and this is going to be something a little bit different than what I normally upload. Now, the main reason I'm making this video is because I enjoy anime, and I also enjoy cars, and it's really cool to see cars mentioned in something like anime or in other medium and medias in general. With that said, I'm not going to show any clips from the anime because I don't want to risk getting a copy strike, and I don't feel like I need to reinforce any of these points. If you want to watch the anime, it's really good, and I recommend it, even for someone who doesn't watch anime. The story is pretty easy to follow while still being rather interesting. With that said, let's get right into the video. So, in the anime, Chaika the Coffin Princess, it makes a lot of references and Easter eggs to car companies. The first thing we're going to start with is our locations. So, the Gauss Empire are obviously kind of the bad guys, and the Kingdom of Koenigsegg, which are kind of the good guys. So, the Gauss Empire was ruled by a man named Arthur Gauss, and eventually he died and was defeated by 8 heroes, and Gauss itself is a reference to a Russian car company called Gauss back from their Soviet Union days. And this correlates because the Gauss Empire was seen as evil, but they eventually fell and were brought down for the same reason the Soviet Union and communism was seen as evil, but then it was eventually brought down and eventually just fell. So Gauss makes a car known as the Chaika, and this is important for later on. I'll move on to discuss the Kingdom of Koenigsegg. So Koenigsegg is named after the Swedish supercar manufacturer, which then said, you know what, supercars with Ford-based engines, that's not extreme enough, so they went on to develop hypercars, most notably the Agera R. And then they're like, you know what, this isn't even cool enough, let's make an even faster car. And the rest of the world was like, that's not even possible, and they're like, fine, we'll create our own category. So they went ahead and created the megacar category. With it contains the Koenigsegg 1.1 and the Koenigsegg Agera. So I thought it was fitting that they kind of gave the good guys, you know, the cooler of the two. And now moving on to main character. So Chaika Trabant is, I guess, the main character of the series. I mean, obviously her name is the one on the cover of the series, and her name is a double reference to cars. So her name Chaika is because of the Gauss Chaika, which is a 5.5 liter M13 V8, and only had a top speed of 99 miles an hour, and it was a luxury automobile that from the Soviet Union, and they were only available to Soviet government officials, but they could be purchased, and they could not be purchased by civilians, but they could be rented by them for certain occasions. Her last name, Trabant, is a reference to the automobile Trabant, which was produced from 1957 to 1990 by former East Germany VEB. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. There's more than one Chaikas in this series, and the other Chaika who gets the most screen time, Chaika Bodan, her last name is a reference to the automotive manufacturing group, the Bodan Group. The two saboteurs who accompany Chaika, Toru and his sister Akari, both share the last name Acura. Acura is just an American luxury division for Honda, and one of their most notable cars are the Acura NSX. And in the Gillette squad, only one of the members seems to have a reference to cars, and that is Matthias Callaway. His last name Callaway is a reference to Callaway cars, and they're known for tuning Chevy cars, most notably the Chevy Corvette and the Chevy Camaro. Callaway has made cars capable of basically performing at race car performance, because he actually has tuned and made race car Corvettes basically. And he's known for making superchargers and body kits, even kind of funky body kits for the Corvette. But nonetheless, he's a pretty cool guy, and his company definitely is as well. Now, moving on to the 8 heroes. The first of the 8 heroes that we're introduced to is Roberto Abarth. His last name is a reference to the car company Abarth. Abarth is now owned by Fiat, and most notably, I guess one of the more well-known cars from them is the Fiat Abarth 500. Not that cool of a car, whatever, let's just move on because I don't really have much to say about that car. The second hero we're introduced to in the series is Dominika Skoda, and her last name Skoda is a reference to Czech automotive manufacturer Skoda Auto. And I don't really have much else to say about her either. And with that said, the third hero that we're going to be talking about on this list, because not all the heroes had a reference to car names, but the third hero that we'll talk about is Claudia Dodge. So her last name, Dodge, is a reference to the American car manufacturer Dodge. And her personality actually does match Dodge a lot, in the sense that she is the only of the 8 heroes to not go insane or do anything stupid after killing Arthur Gauss. She basically just opened up her own winery and lived to pursue her own dream and kind of just live for herself. And that's really cool, and that's kind of what Dodge as a company does as well. They kind of don't really compete with people in the sense that they just make cars for the sake of making them, and they make cars to their own standards, and that's really admirable. The next hero was an archer, and his name was Glenn Donkervoort. Like the Donkervoort car, which is the D8 GTO, he's really light on his feet for the same reason the car is an extremely light car. And obviously most archers have to be light on their feet, and you know, that's not the point. The Donkerfort D8 GTO is a car that is, like I said, really light. It only weighs 1,532 pounds or 695 kilograms. It has 380 brake horsepower, made by a 2.5 liter inline 5. Yeah, that's right, an inline 5 engine, a 5-cylinder engine. It's driving me nuts looking at this, because the only other car I know of an inline 5 is the Fiat Turbo Coupe. It's a very rare engine layout, and in my opinion, like I said, it's driving me insane, because my eyes look at that and just think it's a typo. Like, no, you meant to type i4 or i6, not i5. Or it makes me think of computers because of the i5 processor. Whatever, I'm getting off track. And the final hero that had a car reference is Simone Scania, and his last name Scania is just a reference to the Swedish automotive manufacturer Scania AB. So, 2 villains in the series also had reference to car names, and the first one is Gratio Lancia. Gratio Lancia's last name, Lancia, is a reference to the car company Lancia, and Lancia is known for making really good rally cars, most notably the Stratos and the Delta, and both those went on to be rally legends, and even to this day, they're very well sought after and very respectable cars in my opinion, especially since the Stratos was rear-wheel drive, and it was like, screw it, I'm going off-road anyways. And it really kind of changed people's perception of what made a good rally car. And another villain is Alan Tramontana. His last name Tramontana is a reference to the car manufacturer Tramontana. Tramontana is not a very well-known company. Honestly, not any of these companies on this list are that well-known, with the exception of Acura, Barf, and Dodge. So Tramontana did try to make a car called the XTR. It didn't really take off because it was 800 grand. It only had a top speed of 200 miles an hour. 0 to 60 time in 3 seconds, and it had 888 horsepower and a 5.5 liter twin turbo V12. Those numbers are piss poor compared to a car that has a 6.5 liter V12, 700 horsepower, 0 to 60 time in 2.8 seconds, and a top speed of 217 miles an hour. Yes, the car I'm talking about is the Lamborghini Aventador, and that car cost half the price of the Tramontana XTR. The XTR was designed to be a street legal Formula car, but if you ask me, if you're underperforming to the point a big fat boat like the Aventador has better stats than you, it's really hard to consider yourself a street legal to be a Formula car, because Formula cars are known for being lightweight, fast, nimble, not slower than a boat. Literally, in the sense that the Aventador basically is a boat with wheels. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed this change of pace, and this isn't something I'm going to do too often, but it's something that I personally have a lot of fun with. Other than that, thanks for watching. Blade Angel out.